Hello, everybody. It's Ed Rosenberg, and today I have the privilege of speaking to Victor Rosenman from Feedvisor, all the way in Tel Aviv, Israel. Victor, how are you doing today?
Hi Ed. Hi everyone.
Okay, hi, Victor. And first of all, you did a great job in the city running that event. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. And it was good to see you in Chicago as well. So, a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. I know we only have like 20 minutes, but I'll try my best. First of all, what's your background and why was Feedvisor created? What gap did it fill?
Right. So so basically I have a very extensive background in algorithms, in computer science, in economy, and I actually was very interested all the time about the dynamics that happens in the e-commerce markets. I saw a lot of the similarity between what's going on in the financial markets and the e-commerce markets, and that similarities really drove me to the idea of Feedvisor, because if something that worked really well in the finance, it's going to work that much well in the e-commerce as well, and that was kind of the main assumption that was behind kind of the founding the company.
Right. And you originally it was just you yourself and you did the actual coding, is that correct?
Yeah, so I started the company. It sounds like it was in the stories, but it's actually very true. I started the company in my own house. It was not in the garage because in Israel there's not that many garages. You usually park the car just next to the house. So I started from the room in my own house, and I was working alone. I basically was at the time working as a consultant to various e-commerce retailers, and it allowed me to really learn the market inside out, understand how retailers think, what kind of issues that really bother them, and how software can be really put at use for them. So that was great background to start the company. At the same time, I came from software business for a very long period of time. I managed very large teams in companies like Sun Microsystems and others. So I knew a lot about the management, about the software engineering, how to build reliable software that really delivers the value. So I kind of combined it all together and jumped into the water.
Right. You also have a knack of hiring good people. I can tell you the people who I've met from your company are fantastic. Let me ask you this. How can there be repricing for private label? I know you spoke about it at the event. If I'm the only one selling it, how can there be repricing?
So So the repricing for private label and the repricing for competitive products, they both follow the very same assumption that we want to optimize the profitability. At the very end, we look into the sales of a given retailer, and it doesn't really matter if there are competitive products or there are no competitive products. At the end, we want to look into the profit curve, and when we're looking at the profit curve, we want to go and find the optimum point when the profit is maximized. And the profit comes from both the margin and the gross sales. And the question is how you can find a position where the profit is maximized. So when you look into the competitive products, that position would be defined by the fact that how much of the buy box you will get, and then you don't want to get the buy box at the expense of price, so you're very very cheap, and then basically there's no profit. You don't want to push your price very high, because in that case you get very little of the buy box. So the question is how to find the optimal point when you get a kind of good buy box share for you for a given product, and that gives you and actually brings you to your maximizing your profit point. Uh, at the same time, if you're looking into the private label, it's very similar dynamics, but instead of the buy box, you actually have all the buy box. Instead of competition, you need to care about the demand, and then we're primarily looking into demand of a product, and we see how this demand moves with regard to the price changes. So eventually we can price according to the demand, and then it will be like in the competitive products, we'll price it against the competition. In the private label products, we'll price according to the demand. But in both cases, we're looking how to find the optimal point of your profit optimization. So that's kind of it's applying the same theory, but extending it to the world where you need to look at the demand. And then what sets us apart from the rule-based systems, where in the rule-based systems you always need to react. You always need to react. You always need to find someone to whom you can somehow drag your prices to, or link your prices to. And if you don't find this anchor, then everything else is meaningless. And the difference with Feedvisor, both in the competitive and in private label, is we have a self-learning algorithms, and then the algorithms can make sense of the data without having this necessary link in a reactive manner. We actually can be proactive. We can drive prices, and that's the very underlying concept of everything we do. So it was quite natural for us to move to the private label.
Right. So when people ask you that why would I need, how do you justify your cost? There are reprices out there, for $20, $30 an account. What would you tell them?
Well, you're usually getting what you paid for, right? So if you're getting $9 per month, there are repricers for $9 per month, then you should you should at least return your $9. But if you're having like a $50 million or $20 million a year account, then what's going to make more difference, the result or the cost? And this is how we see into it. And let's say we manage to, I don't know, we manage to save your costs. So we manage to the cost you need to spend on your manual pricing, on your setting the rules, or we manage to improve your overall performance by 1%, only 1% kind of net. And then let's say you're doing like 50 million or 40 million. If you can do the math, it's quite a lot. And then if you put next to it the Feedvisor cost, it's next to nothing. So it's really not so much how you can save, but how you can maximize your overall value. And that's where we're always looking at. And we have made a lot of very long road, basically, from the very beginning when I was working alone in my own room to now we have 40 engineers, at least I think 7 scientists. All day long, what they're doing is they're building the pricing models, they're building the algorithms, and they continuously improve our solution. And it's nothing is perfect, but as long as we're constantly improving, and this is exactly what Feedvisor is all about. We do massive investment into technology, massive investment into science, and we're continuously working to improve it. And that's what differentiates us. And then when you ask people who are paying more for Feedvisor, you're getting to pay for this access to the technology, to the science, and to being able to stay ahead of others, to stay ahead of the competition. And I think that's a primary value, because if the way when we speak with some of our prospects, we tell them, look, this is what we have. I mean, this is the team we have in-house. They're all working on the tool. These scientists, they're all the day spending analyzing and building models. You cannot afford this. You cannot afford even having 2 people. This is going to cost like 3-4 times what Feedvisor is asking. Now you have the alternative of the cheap tools, but they will have like 2 developers that worked there like 2 years ago, and then now there's a half developer in, I don't know, somewhere in Pakistan maybe supporting you on the ongoing basis. And then so yes, this cheap because there is no value attached to it, and it's pure monetization of whatever effort was done. And we keep innovating every day, and we need to finance it somehow.
Right. Okay. So okay, I see what you're saying. But generally speaking, when do merchants see the results? Is it week 1, or is it 2 months in? Is it 30 days in? Does it vary?
So it's really fast to get up and running in Feedvisor. So for example, you close the deal, you start using the tool, you right there, right away. Within 24 hours, you're up and running. It's very fast. But the life doesn't end there, because now you need to upload all the costs. You need to set up the account. You need to work with your customer success rep to really understand, so who will really understand your strategy and try to tune the tool to your strategy. So this takes process, and this takes iterations. So you would start seeing results quite immediately, but to get a total optimal point will take a couple, 2 to 3 months, and that's why we have this program of doing the paid POC, because we saw, like, if there is a 1 or 2 week period, you get to see something, but it's not enough for you to really kind of make serious business decisions. And we're trying to stay away from this. It's really good fit for, very small, simplistic tools like $10 to $100 a month, whatever you have to lose. But if you really want to risk your business, you're really risking your business. You're not risking whatever fee we're charging. We're not charging that much versus the value of your business. So if you really want to build it right, and we assume that someone who engages with us wants to build it right, it's not just to get some repricer in place. It's really to find the right solution for their business. Then it makes a lot of sense to create a longer term relationship. And then we're having this concept of POC, when we're actually putting a lot of investment. I'll be frank with you in this. We usually lose on, kind of financially, we usually lose on the customers for the first few months, simply because we need to allocate many more resources to set the customer, to have the consultation with our customer success team, to really kind of walk customer by hand and listen to their objectives, listen to what they're looking to do, tuning the algorithm. And we believe that once we set it all right, then the customer is going to benefit from the longer term results, and we are after the longer term results as well. But we do have an exit point after 3 months. If it doesn't work, we don't want to push people. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We part friends, and we hope to re-engage again. But we really care about success of our customers, and that's our number one parameter, way more than what we're earning from our customers.
Right. So after, so you think, so if a guy signs up to Feedvisor and after 3 days he said, his business didn't double or whatever, it doesn't mean anything, because they're saying it takes a few months until it's set up right, until the system works. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the larger seller you are, the more time you need to really evaluate things. In a few days, it's hard. And then you wouldn't really jump all the way in a day and see how it's going. I mean, it's your business. You have been spending time building it. So there's no reason really to risk it. So we always recommend customers to take cautious approach. We know that after a quick buck, we really want them to gain the confidence, to feel that you really can trust the system, it works for you. If it doesn't, I mean, it's not a big deal. We don't want to push people to the areas where they feel it's not right for them. We're always upfront with this. We're always open with this. We really want to build partnerships with our customers, and we love our customers.
Right, right. Okay, now
you saw it. I mean, we have in our events, and people come, and we don't pay them. People come and they talk about Feedvisor, and I know people talk about Feedvisor in forums, and they defend us, and they love us because we bring value. We're really there to bring the long-term value and long-term relationship with our customers.
right. So can you give me like some example of like a business that did an excellent? You don't have to give a name of a business. We don't want that, but an example of like what somebody, someone was selling 10,000 SKUs and they were grossing or profiting a certain amount of money, and then after a year of Feedvisor, like, can you give me like a sample company of what they can expect?
Right. So first we under NDA with all our customers, so I cannot talk any names or any numbers. And no one of your kind of friends wouldn't like for me to brag about their numbers and their secret sauce. So we're very, very fanatical about these things. What I can tell is, usually there is one, if you're selling competitive products, it's kind of the most visible. Usually one thing that almost always happen is people believe they need to sell their products cheaper than they actually need to, because there is always there is always it's actually very much part of the human nature. There's always a trend, or there's always kind of move toward being slightly more cheaper than you really need, to kind of push a few more cents there just to be on the safe side. And this kind of gut feel, or this bias to be on the safe side, is what drives at the end the pricing to the ground, because you know what? Everyone is human, and everyone share exactly the same bias. Everyone wants to be on the safe side. So one is on the safe side and giving up a few more cents, and the other one wants to be on the safe side as well and doesn't want to lose it. And then he puts a little bit lower price again, and then it's all spirals. And what we kind of pioneer in Feedvisor, we're trying to bring customers toward thinking about their business in a cold way. Let the data work. So we collect the data, and then the algorithms, they're not human. They don't have a gut feeling. They just look into the numbers, they crunch the numbers, and they make decisions, and that's it. And what happens almost always is customers start to see that they can get the very much same amount of sales, but on a slightly higher margin. That's very often happens. Sometimes we'll see also increase in sales. It really depends on the strategy. It depends on a lot of parameters. So, and everyone different. When you have highly competitive market, it's one thing. And then when you have slightly less competitive market, is the another thing. And then when you have a private label, it's yet another thing. So there is no one single kind of big number and say, okay, it's going to hold for you. So people will come to us next time and say, okay, measure it by penny. And then if I didn't make this, oh, the guys from Feedvisor told me it's going to be this way. Our goal always is to find the optimal price for every product at every given point of time. And the optimal price is driven by market conditions. But what we really trying to eliminate is for people having a suboptimal price. Because in a suboptimal price, you're either not making enough volume because your price is too high, or you're making too low profit because your price is lower than what it should be. And from our perspective, we want to find the optimal point. At the optimal point, you will have the optimal profit, because a profit is multiplier of margin and sales. So we want to find the right price so this multiplier is maximized. And we're using science for that, but at the end, the concept itself is really simple. It just needs a lot of data that's constantly changing. It needs to be processed, and it needs to be processed in very quickly, almost real time, because if you don't react fast, someone else will, and someone else will capture the opportunity.
Wow. Okay, that was very good, Victor. One last question. Wouldn't the same concept work for especially private label outside of Amazon? Like if I'm selling it, even if I'm selling it on my website with Google and eBay, shouldn't there be a way to also capture the optimal price for at least for a private label item?
Well, pricing of private label item is driven by demand. So we can say that mapping demand will probably work the same either on Amazon or outside Amazon, because it's less tied to competition, to the buy box. So these concepts should work well. It's under development right now on the Feedvisor end, so it's not all is publicly available. We have a lot of projects running in our own lab, and we have big ambitions of what we want to do. But it's really that the kind of the problem domain is exactly the same. The problem domain is exactly the same. Is how to price in accordance to demand and see how demand reacts to what demand sensitivity to the price. So if you push the price up, the demand will go down or it will not. If not, then you should price up. And then if you price slightly lower, will the demand increase? Maybe it will increase more, so the overall profit will be higher. In that case, yeah, you should push it down. And that's the very same concept. It doesn't matter if it's Amazon or it's eBay, it's your own stuff. It's all the same concept.
And you guys, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You guys are all local, and all these your scientists and engineers and programmers, they're all located in Israel.
Yes, all our technical team is in Israel. We actually building our customer success and part of our sales team in the States. so we can serve faster and we can respond faster. But most of the technical team in Israel, that's where the brain is.
Right,
So,
right. Oh, it's funny how you
well,
said.
we're Jewish, so we know what it means.
Right. But it's funny how you said about looking at the numbers and take emotions out. I mean, doctors really talk like that, but it's the truth. I mean, I want to go to the best doctor. I don't want to go to a doctor that's a nice guy.
Yes, exactly. You want to put your emotions aside, and then you want to make data-driven decisions. And that's so important. And you definitely want always to go for the best. And by the way, it's not only that we actually use the very same methodology inside. We only take the best people. And you have interacted with some of our team members, and you see the quality of people we bring. And I'll tell you, they're not really cheap. But we know, I mean, you need to pay for the quality, and we're bringing the best people we can. And I don't know how many of your customers been here in Tel Aviv, but we have very strong employment brand in Israel and Tel Aviv in particular, and we're really getting the best of the best talent here.
Wow. Okay, Victor, that was quite informative, and always, it's definitely a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure I'll be speaking to you soon. Thank you so much, Victor.
Thank you. Bye bye.